what's just good for the institution I'm working for versus what may be good for the enterprise. That's hard to do. I mean, we're all subject to our own self-interest, and yet there are times where when you have to subvert your own best interests and throw in. And there have been a few times in my career where you had to swallow hard and say, this isn't the best thing for Iowa or the Big Ten, or this isn't the best thing for Stanford or the Pac-12, or this may not be the best thing for a group of public schools nationally, but it's the right thing to do to get on down the path. And I think the current restructuring of our governance in the NCAA, and it's been significantly restructured 4 times in the last 23 years. I think the one thing that we are going to try and get right is we got to figure out if we can self-govern. There's 350 Division I members. They all want to claim to be, in the so-called big time. There's huge differences. I mean, on the one end, the University of Texas has something approaching a $200 million budget, and some of the lower level Division I basketball schools have $3 million budgets. How do you make rules that you can paint with a broad brush that are equally as fair to Texas as they are to Siena? I just think it's really hard, and so the autonomy process has been one that has allowed us to segment that, and and they're reasonable disagreements. You've all probably spent time talking about Title IX and gender equity. What is a terrific approach to gender equity for the University of Iowa might be a poor or tenable but undesirable outcome for Northern Iowa, and it might be a terrible decision for some smaller school like Loyola Chicago or something like that. And as an example, we could probably solve, in my conference in the Big Ten, we could probably solve all of our Title IX and equity issues by adding 3 women's basketball scholarships and 3 or 4 women's volleyball scholarships, a few more softball scholarships. You could solve most of your problems. But what happens at a practical level is all the people that were playing on the floor for Northern Iowa are now sitting on the bench at Iowa and Purdue and Michigan and other places. It changes the competitive quotient, and it's a terrible decision for the really small Division I's. It's a marginally bad decision for the mid-majors, and it's a good decision for us. And they're legitimate differences of opinion, but trying to make that all fit together is really hard, and it requires you to subvert your own interests sometimes. And over a long period of time, we've done a very poor job of it. And so I think this is really a referendum right now on whether we can self-govern. And if we find out we can't, then I think we'll end up with some other kind of organization. It won't be the NCAA. It'll be maybe a separate division of the NCAA, or maybe a separate organization altogether.